Fox. All right, Warren Buffett, he turns 81 today. Happy birthday. He's pushing away some Republicans with his latest call for tax increases on wealthy Americans. The self-made billionaire called the Tea Party approach to budget talks insane, and he's also proposed raising $500 billion by taxing the richest of Americans. For more, we're joined by Paul Lountzis. He's the founder of Lountzis Asset Management. Lountzis' largest holding is Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway stock. Paul, thanks so much for coming in. Appreciate it. So what do you make of Warren Buffett and his thoughts about politics? Does that make investing a little more difficult, or does it make it easier?
I think it shows that he really cares deeply beyond investing and beyond Berkshire Hathaway, and he cares deeply about our country, and he's saying what he thinks. He's always had consistent views with regard to a progressive income tax, and he's seeing the enormous deficits that we have in this country, and we need to resolve them, and spending's only going to accomplish part of it. We need to raise some more revenue.
All right, well, having said that, I mean, what do you make of the critics who then contend, all right, Warren Buffett, if you want to pay more taxes, there's nothing that stops you from writing a bigger check to the government. You don't need the government in order to tax you. You can always give them more.
I think, well, first of all, he's given over 99% of his wealth to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. But secondarily, it's far broader than Mr. Buffett himself. We as a country need to get together and work together, the wealthy, every individual class, and try and resolve this collectively. So he alone can't reduce the deficit. It needs to be a broader discussion for everyone to get involved and try and solve some of the challenges we have.
Do you get any questions about this from your investors? I mean, because as I said, your largest holding is Berkshire Hathaway stock.
A couple of clients have differing views with regard to...
You're so diplomatic, Paul.
Well, they have differing views with regard to taxing the wealthy, where an enormous portion of that wealth is a carried interest or capital gains or dividends, which are at 15%,
right,
versus the top marginal rates. But the bigger issue, it's not so much, he's never stated exactly what he thinks those rates should be. My bigger issue is, even if you raise those rates, the way our government spends the money is even more important from my perspective. And that's what a big concern of mine is.
All right. Well, one of the ways that the government spent some money or used some of the money during the financial crisis was to help a lot of the big banks. Now we have Warren Buffett, the $5 billion preferred deal that was announced last week for Bank of America. He also gets, what, 700 million warrants to buy Bank of America shares at like $7.14. He's already ahead on that deal. Do you think this was a good move?
For Berkshire Hathaway shareholders, it was a great move. It was a wonderful opportunity to invest meaningful capital of $5 billion. It's cumulative, perpetual preferred stock, 50,000 shares of $100,000 each, and you're getting a 6% dividend, which is a great deal. They can redeem it at any time with paying 5%. I think it's $250 million. And on top of that, you get the potential upside of 700 million warrants exercisable at $7.14 through August 25th of 2021. So for 10 years, it's a great deal for him.
Would you have bought the shares of the common of BofA?
I would love to have gotten the same deal that he did. I would not have bought just the common.
So you're buying his deal-making ability as well when you buy Berkshire Hathaway,
correct,
right?
Correct.
And do you think that his challenge to the banking industry is going to be met by higher bank prices? Because it seemed as though it worked for a day, but then bank stocks, they seem to take their cues from what goes on in Europe, not necessarily investors here.
I think the macroeconomic issues in Europe and around the world, China's growth rates, emerging market growth rates, Greece, Portugal, Italy, those are all important issues that are impacting banks domestically. But I think long term, our banks, whether it's Wells Fargo, US Bank Corp, two other banks that we own and we followed for 20 years, and several other banks, we think long term banks are going to do just fine. They're in much better shape today in terms of capital requirements, loan portfolios than they were 3 years ago.
All right. I appreciate the insight. Thank you very much. Paul Lountzis joining us from Lountzis Asset Management, talking about Berkshire Hathaway and Warren Buffett. And yes, happy birthday. He turns 81 today, the sage of Omaha.